Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I'm gonna straighten that out because I can see that we are a little bit crooked, and that's probably not gonna work for us. So let me. Is that better?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay. Hello again. So now it's crooked in the other direction. You're gonna have to live with it. It's me, Natalie from Creative Makers. Hello, two people. Hi, Sandy. I'm so happy you're here. And I can just barely make it out because the camera's a little farther away than usual. I'm relatively on time today, which is lovely. Today, I am talking to
Anthony Villarreal.
Why did that happen? Anthony Villarreal. I don't know why it just lost it on my tongue. Probably because of the things we were talking about before we started.
Right.
In any case, I met Anthony at Plaza de la Raza, which is in Lincoln Heights, California, and he was at a holiday sale. And what caught my attention is he walked by me and he was wearing a jacket that had some really colorful stitching down the sides of it, on the yoke and on the seams. And I looked at it and I was like, this is very cool. I need to know what's going on here. And then I got presented with his work. And I saw what was happening, and I knew that I needed to talk to him in depth, and I thought you guys might like to meet him too. So without further ado, hello.
Hello, very pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for
so
letting
much.
me come over to see you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I only ask one question.
Okay.
And then where the conversation goes from there, we'll figure it out. So my one question that I ask every artist is, I want to know what creativity looked like for you as a kid.
Okay, as a kid, I remember drawing all the time, nonstop. I actually drew a lot of princess dresses, but I had a period where I was using just the crayons, those wonderful toxic crayons we had as a kid.
They're toxic?
They were toxic.
What? I thought they were supposed to be non-toxic. Wait a minute.
Not when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Not in the 50s, the late 50s, early 60s. Those big crayons that were, the color was intense, and you could scribble and make sure you had no white showing through. So I used to draw all these images in black, and then I'd fill it in with color, and I'd have no white on the paper anywhere. They'd almost look like stained glass images. And so I had a period of that, and I loved that, and I brought it home. I gave it to family members, my mother. I made cards for my grandmother and my relatives. And then as later on in life, as I got older, I started asking, what happened to all that art that I had made and given to? Everybody threw it away.
Oh.
I guess that's a sign of the times. I came from a family of 5 siblings, and so I was the oldest, so I guess you couldn't save everything. So, but my childhood was, I looked at some of my report cards as a kid too. They talked about me being very creative back then. So that was kind of surprising because
they were seeing it already.
They were, but I wasn't seeing it, and I figured, I guess I figured that, art is not the answer, and I was going to go towards academics.
So wait a minute. So did you just think at that point that art just wasn't that special?
Yes.
Is that what it amounted to?
Yes, it wasn't emphasized to me. We didn't go to museums as kids. I had no art practices around me. Though, as I was growing up, I had many interests. For instance, I wanted to do photography, but yet we were too poor to have a camera. There were just lots of instances where money was the object, and I had to just figure out things. I started getting a job at 10 years old raking leaves, and not raking them, but walking around with a bag and picking them all up one by one.
Oh my God.
And saving that money to buy things that I liked. I have a really good friend of mine, Margaret Garcia,
Oh
who
yeah.
I love her work, and I've listened to quite a few interviews with her about her art process, and it kind of always starts off with, well, when she was a little girl,
Mhm.
she was 5 years old, and she came home from school with a little art piece that she'd drawn, and her father says, "You're an artist," and so she took that role right then and there. I came home, nobody said nothing, and so that was an interesting reflection that I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, Margaret shared that story with
Hmm.
us. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So uh, I just went into the academics. The important thing was to try to get into college. Nobody had gone to college in my family, and I ended up being a recipient of the Upward Bound program that was helped get minorities into college who didn't have the exact grade point to get in, but they had potential.
Hmm.
So that's what I did. I got into the university, UC Riverside,
Oh.
and I thought I was going to go into medicine because as a teenager I worked in a convalescent hospital, and so I worked caregiving at a young age, and I thought maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, go into medicine.
This is so interesting. So opposite
So
in a
opposite, so
way. Yeah.
opposite. But being 18, living on your own with your friends, going to college, but not having anybody to tell you when to go to bed or what to do. I was became a free spirit, and I would run to Hollywood, and I would go to the underground nightclubs, and I would run around with all these wonderful movers and shakers that inspired me and became my art teachers. And it was only then that I started to think that I could probably do something. And my succession into art started with becoming a hairdresser, and then after becoming a hairdresser, because I went to university and I was really worried about loans. The loans weren't that expensive back then, but
Mm,
still.
right. It's still a lot to carry
So
around.
I worried about that, and I thought I want to get a profession that I could make a living with, and if I have to put myself through school, I'll do that myself. So that's what I did. Uh, I ended up getting my license to do hair.
So wait a minute. So you got into UC
Yes.
Riverside. Did you even attend at all?
Yes, I went there for two
You
years.
did go for 2 years.
Yeah.
And did you declare a major?
No, I hadn't declared a major yet.
So then after 2 years, that's when you were like, I need to find
I need
some
to,
way to make some
yes, because
money to put
I
myself
want to
through
say the
school.
last 6 months, my grades weren't that great, and I wasn't interested in calculus and all that stuff.
How did you find the money to go to beauty school?
Um, I went to a community college that
Oh,
had the program. It was in Huntington Beach, Golden West College.
I know it.
So I
Yeah.
ended up wanting to, and my parents were very sick about it, me dropping out of the university. And my father said, if it's the money, don't worry about it. We'll get it for you. And I said, it's not the money, Dad. It's the principle. I said, I want to be able to, I don't even know what I want to do. And if I'm going to go back to school, I want to put myself through school and not have to count on loans for my family to incur. And so I did. And so it was important for me as I became a hairdresser to be successful and to make my parents proud of me for doing that.
Do you think your parents, I mean, obviously they expressed disappointment to you and that you weren't going back to UC, but I mean, you were their shining light at that point. You were going to be the first one.
Yes, yes, yes. So it was kind of
That must have been hard to carry
that
too.
that was, but again, like I said, I had to make sure I wanted my parents to be proud. So I entered hair shows and I won first place trophies, and I brought them home and I shared with them. And then as I got out of hair school, I managed to get a job working at Vidal Sassoon. But eventually, hair, I was only dealing with the head, and I can imagine the total look. And that's when I decided to drop out of working in salons and work privately. And I put myself through fashion design school. I went to Los Angeles Trade Technical College, got my career there. And then I entered a contest that I won first place, which took me to Paris. And that's where I stayed for 25 years.
Are you guys hearing this journey? I mean, from thinking possibly you're going to go into medicine and then into hairdressing and then into fashion and then in Paris, 25 years?
Yes, yes. And I've managed to try and, you know, dabble in many design mediums, design elements, because I was always interested in many forms of design. So I worked as a studio hairdresser, I worked as a stylist, I worked at building sets. And in Paris, I was around the most incredible museums, so I was always inspired.
Now, what was your work like in Paris?
Well, first of all,
I mean, you won the contest, and then what
yes.
did that give to you?
That gave me a month seminar at a school that turned out to be somewhat not what it was supposed to be, or they weren't really. I couldn't figure out why I had won this contest, and they weren't. And what it was that because I was coming from Los Angeles, they expected me to go back to LA and shoot the program because it was a brand new program. I didn't realize this until very recently that when I went, it was the first time they had put this program together, and now it's still been in existence since 1980. So I said I'm staying, and they was like, you can't stay. They tried to discourage me and tell me that you won't be able to work here. 2 years later, I had my own stand at Porte de Versailles, which is where they do the ready-to-wear collections where you show to sell to buyers. 2 years later, they're there walking into my stand, and I was like, oh, bonjour, ça va? I remember you didn't think that I would be able to make it. So it's important to believe in yourself and don't listen to others.
So you're just sort of like, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And too now in these days, I think about that time and I think about how there was no diversity involved in this program, and I was one of them. I mean, I remember that all the students that were there were very rich and had money to go to the cafes and to go sit down and to shop and everything. I was poor. I arrived in Paris with $500 in my pocket that had to stretch for me to figure out where I was going to live. I was living on a hot dog a day, but I knew I was going to go and stay. I brought my portfolio of hair, working as a studio hairdresser, and I knew I could do hair for expats. I knew how important it is to communicate to people about their hair, and so I knew that I was a good hairdresser and I could give that type of service. And eventually, that's what happened. I ended up being able to do that, and I was there when the fashion industry was also kind of in an influx, and they needed a new life in the industry. And so I was a part of many selections, not even knowing that I was an American, but I got selected by different groups until finally it was the Fédération du Prêt-à-Porter that selected me and platformed me in the Museum of Modern Art to do my first show.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What an honor.
So I couldn't get a job working with anybody, any house, because in order to work with a house or a job in France, you have to be able to, as an American, you're going to be paid executive wages. And so I had to do it on my own.
So when you say do it on your own, you mean like
I had to incorporate my own company.
I was just going to say, so you had to be self-employed.
I had to be self-employed. I had to wear all the hats, running the company and designing and working at producing a collection every 6 months and getting ready for another one. I did that for 7 years until I had to stop because I didn't have money. I didn't have the money enough the proper money to funnel into my business, but I had enough money to have kept it abreast until then.
Hmm. So at that point, then at that 7 year mark,
Yeah.
what happened?
Oh, I had a death in the family. My father passed away, and I came back to California just to be with my family. But I had a partner in Paris who said, "Go, try and find money for the company, and don't worry about coming back so quickly." So I did. I ended up working with a company based in Singapore and Taiwan. I had that great experience. And then I had a company from Singapore who were trying to find and fund me in LA, but then they ran into a lot of embezzlement problems. So it was a lot of issues that happened along the way. And that was for like 3 years. And I just said, you know what, I'm going back to Paris. My company was gone. My partner was shady. I lost a lot of my archives. It was a whole different period. When I went back, fashion was the grunge period, and the grunge period did a number on anyone who was doing high fashion. Nobody
Right.
was interested in high fashion anymore, and so it was just like, well, you know what? Doesn't look like anything's happening in fashion. I'll just stay abreast. I'll watch every season, and I did other things. I catered Mexican food in Paris. I studied theater as an actor. I did all these other things while I watched the industry. And the only thing that was going on in the industry that was really happening was the textile industry. Textiles were in an explosion. The fabrics that were coming out were just incredible. And so you kept wondering, why aren't these fabrics being used yet? It took a couple of years before that started to happen.
What were you seeing in fabrics that was changing? Because this is about the period that I was in the industry, but I was here in California.
Yes, but you were relegated to fabrics from China or from Asia.
Probably so.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, and
These
also I was working very low level, where
Right,
mass produced
right.
garments.
Well, yeah, I wasn't doing mass produced, but I was selling to specific high-end stores, small batches.
I was just going to ask you, were these one of a kind pieces, or were
No,
these
no,
like
no.
a small run, like 5 to 10 pieces of everything, or?
I would say like some of the stores would between 25 and 35 pieces. These were small high-end boutiques. But I had problems in the fashion industry because I had a certain look. Um, I'll just show you.
He's prepared, Philip. People here. I'm gonna move this forward
Okay.
so that you
This
can
is
see. Sorry about the light, you
these are
guys.
the
Yeah.
images that my first dresses that I made, which got me I won this contest to Paris. So my stuff was very voluminous, and I've always been attracted to or
Super punk.
inspired by Balenciaga, who was
Oh, mhm.
the maître, the person who every designer revered him. And one of the principles that he talked about was that volume can hide the imperfections. And my cuts were very circular so that when they fall, they draped. So I stayed within this realm, became my DNA because it was flattering on all size women. I just needed specific measurements to adapt to each woman, but my stuff was the same. So when I'd go to the buying offices, that they would look at and they would mark and they go, oh, the same thing over and over, which allowed me not to be able to get those appointments with the buyers. So I had to learn that, you know what, I'm not going to be for everybody. And many times they tried to tell me to do this and do that. I stuck to my guns, and I've stayed that way ever since.
So let's go back to the fabric stuff. So what kind of fabric stuff were you seeing come out? The innovations in fabric.
Well, when I say innovations of fabric, I mean that there was an explosion of color and texture.
Were you seeing print being used a lot more?
Prints too. There were different houses that were doing wonderful prints. I mean, it was just there's a specific during that time. There's another when you have the Bible of the fabric industry is called Premier Vision,
Mhm.
and it's fests where everybody goes to see the new trends of
Oh, I
fabric.
think I remember them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, it was in the early '80s. It was pretty small. Now it's gigantic.
They were like a trend house, and they would forecast, so to speak,
Well,
what
no,
was
no, it's not
happening.
a trend
No?
house. No, trend house. No, they were a consortium of all the European manufacturers of fabrics. So you had Premier Vision was under the umbrella of Premier Vision. You had the Italians, you had the French, you had the English, you had the Swiss. All those companies would all converge into Paris to do this one huge trade show.
Oh, I'm stand corrected.
Yes, so it's a
Yeah.
trade. It's a huge trade show for the industry, and then at the same time they have another trade show going on at the same time, which is all the images of what fabric will look like in the future, and a year from now.
Mhm.
So you have these you're able to see the trends, and there's a very important woman in the textile industry called Lee Idelkoor. She's a Dutch woman, and if you just want to look at some of her YouTube videos of what she professes to, Lee Idelkoor.
ID.
Idelkort.
What happened? We lost power, sort of. I think we're still on the internet.
Yes.
This is good.
I think.
Do you think we blew a circuit?
No, I don't think we blew a circuit, but I think that maybe outside,
Maybe so.
because it's raining over here in California.
Can you guys still see me? Can you see us enough, at least for the moment? I'm going to hope, interested in hearing about the neck pieces he's wearing. I hear you, Doreen. Now we're getting there. I want to just check in for a second and see what's going on. I want to just see what's happening. So, sorry about the power. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Georgia. Hi, Carmen. Hi, Doreen. Hi, Anne. Hi, Marshall. Oh, here we have power again. Yay. Hi, James. Oh, now it's gone. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Doreen. Yes, we'll talk about the pieces. Yes, 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 yes. Through a glass darkly. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to hope. I mean, these aren't things that I was bargaining for. Let's try. Do you think this will help?
Maybe.
Is that helping people? That helps a little bit.
Yeah.
I just opened the window, and we're going to hope that the power comes back on. So I'm sorry that we're still dark here. Since somebody asked, would you like to talk about your neck pieces? Because they are beautiful.
Thank you, thank you. These belong to one of my dearest friends who passed away. I would consider him one of my art teachers. I think we met when we were 19 years old, and he had lived in the back of his parents' house in a little shed that he decorated with vintage pictures. And I mean, there were scarves, there were lights. It was just this collage work. He introduced me to collage work. And he was just one of those people that were my art teachers. And so unfortunately, he passed away about a year ago, and the family said that I could have these. And so I'm wearing them today for Alex. Alex is here with me too, también.
So there's how many pieces? There's 3 pieces that you're wearing.
Yes.
So there's one piece that looks like it's on leather.
Yes. And he made all this. So.
Okay. And that looks like leather and turquoise.
Yes, yes.
And then this woven piece.
This woven thing, I think it's a Native American bead work, which is really nice. And then just a bunch of little turquoise beads that he put together.
With a little tassel.
Yes.
I like them all together. It's a nice statement. So there you go, you guys. Okay, so let's go back to where we are. So you come back to Paris and everything is gone, basically.
Everything has changed, and I didn't know where to find my way, but it was still a time where I could I could be abreast and see what was going on. I didn't. I started to do costumes. I never went back into the industry per se to create a collection every season. My whole experience, the second 10 years, was of other experiences that I did. And at one point, I said, you know what, I got to leave this city because now I feel like a rat in a cage. I know the city so well. I was going over and over and over. Everywhere was just so familiar. And I felt like, oh my gosh, there's more to life than Paris. And a lot of people, when I would try to tell them I'm leaving Paris, they'd say, why would you leave Paris? And I would say, because there's more to life than Paris. And I didn't want to come back to Paris for a long time. I haven't been there for 20 years.
Wow.
And now I want to. I'm excited about a visit. I'm excited about finding a means to be able to show my work uh, in Paris also, to see friends. I mean, I have family and friends there that are so dear to me. And it's changed a lot. There's no way that anybody could do what I did and others did today, because the industry has morphed into such a major event, and it just doesn't happen the way that we did it. It was very provincial, very old world when I got there. It was an experience that I cherish and have no regrets.
Did you find it to be, pardon the expression, sort of old boys club sort of thing? I mean, everybody, I don't know. I mean, because you were an outsider, so
I
I
was
didn't.
an outsider, but they all let me in. I was really It was interesting because some of those French designers would tell me, the ones my contemporaries would say that my look is so American, but I would say, like, I don't understand what you mean by American. Um, I still didn't understand, but I guess I would say that my work kind of, my DNA has been sort of elements of the 50s, but in modern fabrics, in modern proportions. Um, and I don't do vulgar clothes. I do very chic, very sophisticated. And it takes that kind of woman too to recognize that. Because I had a lot of trouble coming back to LA, and most, I've run into many women that just are connected to pop culture, or clothes that are just a little too vulgar, and that's
Fast
what they want.
fashion.
Fast fashion and all that.
Yeah.
So I was misunderstood and sometimes considered arrogant because I was a dictator in that sense. I wasn't the kind of designer that you could come to me and say what you want. I would sit you down and tell you what you need. And it's like,
Probably it didn't always go well, right?
no, it sometimes it did. Yes, I'll make a mention to Margaret Garcia. Margaret Garcia asked me to do her wedding dress,
Oh.
and she came to me and she said, "Well, the first thing is that my fiance, he's going to pay for it, only if it's made with raw silk." So I said, "No." No raw silk. I said, first of all, Margaret, that's going to be an important day for you, and you want to be comfortable and you want to be able to move around. Raw silk is a broadcloth. It's going to wrinkle. It's gonna be hard to sit in to get what you want. And I said, I see you in fluid jersey, and so I made her one of my sheath lantern dresses, and she looked fantastic. She looked beautiful, and she was very happy.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. That's funny because I know that she has very, very precise ideas about what she likes and what she wants.
Yes,
So
yes.
the
And
fact that,
she's bought many pieces from me
oh,
too.
that's
She
nice.
wears my pieces also. So that's like was a wonderful client. But yeah, again, I'm not that designer that you call up and you say, like, I want this, I want that. I mean, I find passion in what I do. So, and I've been doing this for over 35 years, and I have a style. I have a DNA
You have
that
an
I have
idea.
stayed with.
Yeah. So, so how did you finally manage to begin working in tape? How did you make your way there?
Well,
I mean,
okay,
because
of course, I found no way to get back into the fashion industry, and
here,
yes, and it was like 2005. I remember seeing an Italian illustrator who I would watch, and I loved his work. And then one day he showed a couple of sketches that he had done with tape. And I thought that was fascinating. Now, the tape, I don't know what tape he used, but it was just very abstract looking, and it looked, I thought that's interesting. And then I remember I had the painter's tape. So I said, I'm going to try this. And I picked it up. And originally, when I started working with the tape, I was just taking it and like that and just tearing it and just tearing into pieces and laying it down and seeing what would pop up. And then when I would see something, then I would go for it. But everything was abstract. The faces were abstract. It was almost like, how can you create an image with very little, which is what very little pieces. So I was doing that. Then I started to get to the point where I started molding the tape. I started putting the tape on, and I started making these dresses. Pretty much, I was doing fashion sketches. That's how I
so
started.
let's pull one here. Can I pull one of these maybe like this? Or like this? Would that be qualified?
What do you mean pull?
I mean, I want to pull it and just like bring it over a little closer so people can see it more closely.
Pull what? That? Because it's stuck to the wall.
Yeah. Well, can I unstick it? Is
Is
that okay? I know that they're with a couple of tacks, so I don't know.
Let's see.
Here, we're looking for a piece to show you, and I'm hoping that it'll come through. There we go. Take the whole box.
Yeah, that's one where I molded.
I'm bringing it over to you, people, and I'm hoping that you can see it. And you know what? Let's move our chairs a little bit closer to the light.
Okay.
That way, maybe you can see us a little bit better. All right. So now I'm bringing this towards you. All right. So I know that this is not easy to see. I'm sorry about the power. I'm hoping that it'll go on soon. But what you can't, maybe if I turn it to the side, I don't know. Now you can, oh, there you go. Now you can see how it's three-dimensional. Do you see how he's molded the tape into basically these fashion sketches? If I do it this way, you're not going to see it because the light's not going to hold. Here, these pieces are so light too. So here we go. Now you can see the three-dimensionality of the piece. And I'm going to just hold it back so you get a whole picture. But you can see here, like this right there. I don't want to touch it, but
this one is a color Xerox of one.
This is a color. Okay, so this is a Xerox. So this has no texture. You can't see it, but this is a Xerox of an example.
And that's when they were pretty much abstract.
Okay. This is, thank you. Thank you for pulling that so that we would, so that we could see that. So this is how you started then. You were starting with your fashion.
Yes,
your fashion eye.
I started with the fashion, and then I would just do it periodically. I started in 2005. I would do a few, and then some people would send me dollar signs saying, trying to say like, you've got something there. But I didn't pay attention. I didn't know where to exhibit, and I thought I still needed to keep working at this. So I started to go towards, as it was abstract, and then I started to do very molding it. And then it was during COVID that I started to get really in depth with
we're going to have to pull it.
really in depth, starting
to
cut very, very fine pieces.
I'm bringing it over. So these are flat, more flat.
Yes.
But you can see how intricate. I mean, every blue line and red line that you see on this.
It's a very thin strip.
Right. It's a strip of paint. And you
No,
can,
not paint.
I mean, I'm sorry,
tape.
Got paint on the brain. But you can see how intricate, how thin. I mean, here's my hand in comparison so that you can see how thin these lines are.
And that was the start of them becoming very intricate and leading up to, I was doing fashion sketches, but they were always just a sketch and no background.
Yeah, but and then you made the transition into starting to add background.
Yes, which was, I think I don't have one of the first ones, but one of the first ones that gave me exposure was this one.
This one right here?
Yes.
Okay.
That again is just...
Here, I'm going to show you from the backup position, and then I'll bring it up closer. Bring it up closer. There you go.
I got involved with the collectors of Chicano and Latinx art and their allies on Facebook.
This is all paint. I mean, God, again, tape. It's all tape.
Blue painter's tape. Everybody knows what blue painter's tape is.
Yeah, somebody was asking me about what kind of tape you were using.
Yeah.
Look at that. Here, there's a couple of questions about tape here, so let me back it up. Wow, awesome. Tilt. This gentleman is a hoot. He likes you. That was from Clifton. This is fascinating. Georgia finds it fascinating. It has a deco feel. Georgia's mentioning that your work has a deco feel.
Yes. I'm very attracted to deco images also.
Doreen's asking, do you worry about its longevity?
You know what? A lot of people have asked me about, well, what about like if the tape lifts? And which sometimes it does lift. But I've always told the client that partly, that lifting just ends up exemplifying that it is tape, and when it never takes away from the totality of it. So I was concerned, and one client who bought a piece from me, she bought this from me, and she's a director at the Balboa Conservationist organization in San Diego. And so they wanted to do a Zoom meeting with me to talk about my practice and to talk about the different types of tape and how to keep tape from coming up, or this idea of about longevity. And they mentioned to me that you should stay with your practice. Don't worry about what people are going to think. One of the things you can do with my tape is that I can take a heat gun or a blow dryer after I finish and blow over it, which the heat will make the tape adhere to the porous paper. Even more. So I do that. But also they mentioned to me that they had an artist as an example who had worked with Post-its. Their artwork was Post-its, and they had it up in the museum, and every day one fell down, and all they had to do and go back and reattach it until finally they had all fallen down and they had reattached them all. They said, don't worry about that. Your work is the concern of the museum and the conservationists, the people who take care of it. But I am concerned about the longevity, so I follow my clients along the way, and so far I've had nothing but content. Everyone's content. And I just want to say also too that I've been working with this blue painter's tape, but I love color. I love color, and I was like dying to do something with color. I started adding red for the lips and for the nails.
Right, which we saw in the first sketch with the background in it.
Yes, I started to add that, and then I got a commission from someone because I'd done a picture of Sacré-Cœur in Paris, and someone contacted me and said, could I do the Rue Mouffetard, which was a very well-known, prominent marketplace in Paris. And so I was like, yes, I can do that. And when it came to doing the fruit and vegetables, I said, there's no way that I can do blue fruit and blue vegetables. So I was able to introduce color.
I'm bringing it over. So here from the background, sorry about my hands. Here as we move forward. And again, this is painter's tape, right? In colors?
No, the color tape is different tape.
It is?
It's duct tape. It's other colored masking tape. I'm still experimenting with different tapes and trying to find, what works or to expand on that.
Now, Clifton was saying, he said, why not just varnish over it?
No, I just, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that, so I haven't even broached that. And then also, there is some sort of spray thing from Mod Podge, I think, something that you spray over it. I haven't even tried that either.
I mean, there's acrylic matte finishes that might work.
So far, that hasn't been an issue. The clients take the piece, they frame it, and that's it. So,
especially if you put glass over it too to keep it protected, it's not going to move after that.
Exactly.
But I mean, you would put glass over these flat pieces, but over the pieces that actually have texture to them, you wouldn't want to put glass and flatten it.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense.
Right. Like this one here, it's got three-dimensional. It's got a hair. Oh, here.
Carefully.
It's got a hairdo in it.
It's got a hairdo.
And so even that tape is still sticky.
And the back up. And I'm going to bring you over. So now you can see the dimensions on the hair. Do you see how high it's up? So that you've really got that sense of volume. Very appropriate for a hairdresser, I might add.
Yeah, and hair, those things all come into play. My fashion and hair sense all come to play in my work.
Of course, I can see how it would all culminate.
Yes. Now, when the ones I've done the lowrider images where they have cards in it, for instance, like this huge piece here.
Here, I'm going to turn the camera a little bit, and this might be, we can't really take this one down because it's quite large, but I'm going to turn the camera so that you can see it.
Yeah. I'm not even a car person, but I managed to be able to mimic these cars and get them to where they look sufficient. This big piece is a commemorative piece that I did for the new Cheech Museum, the Cheech Marin Center for Chicano Art Culture, Riverside Art Museum. And I called this one, this is for the Raza. And there's a car right here, you can't see it, but I've got Cheech in the driver's seat. And so it's a bit of the whole Chicano Mexican American diaspora involved in sort of the celebration and opening of this museum, along with the Riverside City skyline and just the way Riverside looks. I'm very proud of this piece. And
it's beautiful.
Yes, I'm very proud of this piece.
It must have taken, now, okay, for example, that piece itself, how long did that take you?
I want to say this one took me about maybe 3 months, but that's because...
And is that 3 months of consistent work?
No, it wasn't, because I could wake up and not feel like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like... But I'm working on another piece just as large as this. That's going to be, it's with the Paris Opera. And I'm so excited about this one that I work on it every single day. And I'm sure I'm going to be able to get it done within a month, maybe a month and a half, just depending. I mean, certain images when I do them, like this piece here, it's a group of girls here. It's an iconic picture, and it's a photo. There's a photo of these women, actresses. They're the actresses in Zoot Suit. And so I added that to it. So I tried to emulate or mimic those images. The same with the Pachucos. But all these characters down here and through here, they come out of my head.
And I was just going to ask you, I mean, do you have them pre-planned, or are you just
No.
doing them one at a time and it's sort of just happening?
Exactly. It's pretty much spontaneous.
It's
Although
crazy.
the one I'm working on, the large one, I have in my head set that it's going to be the opera with its building and what I want to do. But this one started off with just doing the museum first.
The museum at the top.
Yes. So
It's fascinating that you didn't have a plan when you started working on this, and that you just sort of, I mean, other than knowing that you were going to get the Cheech Museum in there,
yes,
everything else
yes.
just sort of happened.
Like none of this is planned. This just all comes out spontaneously. And again, hair and clothing, it's all an intricate part of who I am and what I do.
I know that you guys probably want to see this one closer, but because of the lighting situation here, I'm not sure that it would do me any good to pick up the camera and move it.
Yes.
So if the lights come back on, I'll do that.
Which is quite surprising.
It's very intricate. I see some more questions. Let me come over. I'm trying to be better about answering questions. So would this work on canvas, gesso as an underlayment?
No, this is giclée paper.
So, okay, so he's also saying, this is Clifton talking, the acrylic mediums would be the ticket for me, even with the 3D pieces. Well, it's, everybody works differently.
Yes.
Do you make thumbnails for this or just begin? Well, I think we answered that question. Do you draw it out before you add the tape?
No, there's no drawing whatsoever. There's no drawing. What it is it's
nearly completely spontaneous.
Yes, and I cut the tape into very, very long, thin pieces, and then I try to create the proportions that I need. So it's about placement, pulling it up every now and then, and I have to be careful about the placement, pulling it back and forth, because that stick to the tape gets worn each time. Another thing I learned from the Balboa conservation program, because they said, what would really make the tape stick is if you use like a white glue behind each piece, and I said that's not gonna happen at all. No way, because my pieces become so thin. So I'm saying I'm fine. I have pieces from 2005 that are still just like they were when I did them. So I'm not worried, and I'm not going to worry about it. And we'll broach that subject with people when we come towards it. Yeah.
Now, when you hand off work to a client, let's say a client says, I really want you to do a piece for me, and I know recently you had somebody say, I want you to do a piece about P22.
Yes.
P22, for you, those of you that are not in the know, is a famous mountain lion that we have in Los Angeles, or we had
in the Hollywood Hills.
In the Hollywood Hills, that actually made its way into where everybody else was living, and it was in Griffith Park. And it'd been around for quite a while. It had a collar on it so they could track it. And then just recently they had to euthanize it because it was hit by a car and it was acting irrationally.
And he had cult status.
Yeah, he had cult status. So he did this piece. I think I actually even put this up online already. He did this piece basically with P22 and Our Lady of Guadalupe, or is it Our Lady?
Uh-huh.
Our Lady of Guadalupe sort of shining down on him.
Now, this is a print. So this is 11 by 14, but the actual...
Oh, that's right.
That's a print, but the actual piece, the client wanted a very small piece, so it's only 5 inches by 7 inches.
So this is blown up from 5 by 7?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was working in very small confines, and I managed to do it. She had commissioned me to do this. She had been worried about P22. She's the one that brought P22 to light for me. And she started saying, she wanted to commission me to do a piece because she felt that something was going to happen to him, and she wanted a little piece that exemplified the Virgin Mary watching over him. And then it was 4 days later that he got caught, and then 2 days later where they euthanized him.
That's
So
funny. She was having a little psychic moment or
yes,
something.
yes.
So when you hand over a piece to people, do you just, I mean, probably protected, but I mean, do you just say, here you go, here's your piece,
Oh
and
no,
then
no,
they take
no,
it from
no,
there?
no. I make
What happened?
I make my own boxes for every single piece.
So I'm just gonna hold this one here. So there are these pieces that he does, and then it has a lid. Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what I've been keep bringing the pieces over to you to see them. So they sit in here, and then he makes a box lid for it.
Because I know it's very precious, and I want to make sure that before they get it, have a chance to.
He's got his name on there. It's backwards for you guys. I'm sorry. Is this a print?
No, I do that all by hand.
No.
Yes, I sit there.
Every one of these is different?
Yes, everyone is.
Everyone is different. Oh my God.
Everyone is by hand. I am a stickler about. I must. I can do things. I just go into a zone. And I do that. For instance, like whenever I'm working on a piece and I have it's huge and I've got something like the grid up here that I had to do, I just go into a zone, and I liken it to when I was a hairdresser, when I would go into the salon and maybe I had 6 perms to do in one day. And six perms, you're sectioning and rolling it up and rolling it up, and you're like, you got to get through it, you got to process it, you got to take, and getting through 6 perms in a day you have to be very patient. So I know I have the patience to do meticulous stuff.
Would you say it became almost meditative in that way?
Kinda, yes. For instance, like this one piece here that was, this is an image that comes from archaeology dig of a wall from the 30s, and I wanted to do that, and that was a challenge to do. I made a door out of it in that picture.
This piece here, that piece here. Now, what I'm showing you right now is a print of this work. It's not the actual work. Now, is this the actual size from the original?
Yes, the original. This was 11 by 14.
Now, somebody's asking, what kind of paper do you use to put this on? You mentioned giclée paper before, but I don't know what that is.
Well, I use watercolor. My work is on watercolor paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I just found that seemed to work for me. The prints, they're not expensive prints. I get them at, it's photographic paper, but I'm looking to delve into more prints done on special paper, but it's just not the moment yet for me right now.
Mm-hmm. If you have good photographs, you could probably always transfer that to, if somebody said, I'd like to have this, but I want it so that it's 5 feet by 5 feet, you could probably blow it up and have it placed on canvas or giant piece of paper or whatever.
Here in the office here, my friend whose office this is, she has one of what they call a huge plotter. A plotter, it's like an enormous Xerox machine.
That does the big map, the map pieces,
huge,
like they use for blueprints and stuff.
Well, no, even bigger, like huge posters or even banners and stuff like that.
Wow.
So she's always said to me, we should try one of your pieces on a big thing, but it's about regulating the color and all that too.
Now, how are people finding you? How are you getting this work out?
Actually, as I mentioned earlier, it's on Facebook, yes, but also the page that has collectors of Chicano art, collectors of Chicano and Latinx art and their allies, and it's run by George Mesa, and he has showcased me. He himself has purchased some pieces from me, and every time I finish pieces, I post them on my Instagram, on my Facebook, and on that page. So that's basically how my name has been getting out there. I'm still looking at other avenues and other ways to promote, but it all takes time.
Does Cheech know about this big one that you did?
You know what? This is what I thought. I'm not so sure he actually knows about it, but I understand he has a specific process in the way he picks his art. So it might not be. I know that I got word that he wanted a very large one, but this was also during the time when he was opening up the museum, and so there was a lot of stuff going on, and so I imagine that is possibly part of the reason nothing has happened yet. But I'm very glad that I still have it because I've been able to do some events where I'm able to showcase this because this is a very unique piece that draws people in. I mean, immediately I have to stand up and tell people, let me explain to you this work, and then I'll hold up a blue tape and say, this is done with blue tape, and then they're like shocked. And
right, because it's one thing to see it. I mean, it's beautiful work, even if you didn't know what it was made out of. But then to know that it was done with blue tape and thin strips and placed painstakingly one after the other is...
and there's no drawing, but I know for myself that if I had to draw this stuff out, I would be erasing all the time. So the fact that I just lay the pieces on there, and sometimes these faces, they take a life of their own. So it's a spontaneous act that happens. I have, there are certain pieces these are from images that I picked up, and I tried to mimic that.
Do you actually hunt for images like on Google and stuff?
Yes,
get inspired by?
Yes, I do. But I also try not to get tripped up on trying to be too specific about the images because I keep reminding myself, I'm not trying to do a photographic image. I'm doing an abstraction.
Right.
So
an expressionistic.
Yes. So I don't try to, sometimes it'll look a little bit different, or that's not the way it is, or it's just my interpretation. So because I can get tripped up about, that's not that. It should be this and that. Like I'm working on the Paris Opera right now, and I mapped that out with my pencils in terms of how wide I want it so I could keep room for the other buildings. But what's turned out is that it's a little secret that I'm sharing.
Me and my friends here.
Yes, that the opera, there's 7 openings in it, and I only have 6 because I couldn't get the 7 in there. But it's the opera. It's all the accoutrement of the opera are all in place, and so I don't try to trip up on that because I keep saying, wait till I get to the cars, wait till I get to the people. I'm very excited about that this piece that I'm working on. So I feel like it's going to be another game changer.
When you were designing clothes, were you much of an illustrator?
Yes. Yeah. But my illustrations also too were very abstract. I wasn't about to try to draw everything really, really perfect. I'm like, let me get the image and the idea in as less lines as possible.
Mm-hmm. Just so it flowed and
yes.
you understood what you wanted.
Yes.
Completely understandable. Yes. So, I mean, I can see already how your work has evolved in just the short time that you've been doing it.
Right.
Where do you see it going? I mean, more color, more architectural?
Well, yes. I don't even have a landscape, but I've done...
well, I would call, this is like a cityscape.
That's a cityscape,
yeah,
but I did the
one we talked about
a
earlier.
landscape of a lake and mountains, and it was fascinating to do that. And again, I've done buildings like Plaza I did there, and then the image that I worked from, it had the whole lake in front of it, but the lake had reflections on it. But I couldn't, I was like, you know what, I can't, there's just no way that I can do the reflections yet. I haven't discovered how to do that, so I just keep the blue tape. The blue tape is the sky, the blue tape can be the river, the lake, whatever. So I keep it very simple. And I remember doing the mountains, and I just looked at the mountains, and I tore and cut pieces, and I just laid it on there, and then I got this feedback that, oh, you did the mountains fantastic. They were like perfect. And I'm like, wow, thank you. Because it just really, it's just spontaneous. I'm like, let me put this here. Let me put this here. That's kind of working. Okay. And so I learned. Now, what do I plan for?
Yeah.
Of course, I'm excited about using color more. I'm also excited about changing the color of the paper.
Oh, but that's a really good point.
Yes, contrasting. For instance, like I have a small little one that I did here just one day, which is a little exercise, and it was with.
Here, hold on. I'm going to help.
It was just masking tape with on black.
So I'm going to bring it forward. Got to go around the table. So here it is. I'm going to tilt it to the side so you can see there's a little bit of texture like in through here.
Well, that was an exercise just to see what that would look like. And then here's one.
It's fun to play with.
In red.
This is a photocopy though.
Yes.
Okay. So well, also too, I mean, if you're using a color printer, there should be a way that maybe you can even drop a background into it and lay your image within the photocopy itself, or maybe digitally, once you load up your photograph, you can change the background color so that you don't actually have to do the work on a color.
But I think that's what I want to do.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying not to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you wanted to play with that and say, I don't know what color would look best, and you can mess with it and mock it up.
Like I'd like to do, I'd like to find a good white tape and do the images on black, or maybe many images in them, like people, all the people would be different colored tapes. Mm-hmm. That's something that I'm looking forward to doing. Again, landscapes, I'm thinking about also because it's watercolor paper, doing a wash across it to kind of give the feeling of the desert or the sun, the sky. So now
you're talking about mixing mediums.
Yes, yes. Yeah. One of the ones I'd like to do is, they have frog tape, and frog tape is like painter's tape, but it's green. So I want to do a whole landscape of succulents. Oh. Of succulent plants, and all succulents have flowers. So I'm looking forward to doing a piece on succulents, and then taking all the different colored tapes and creating the small little flowers, or even to do like a field of flowers also within that too. Those are the things that run through my head. Again, I want to also do a wall. I'd like to take the tape, because the tape can come very bigger than this. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that, well, that would be great for a show. When I get my own show, a possibility to have a show, to be able to use tape and to create my characters, larger than life on the wall.
That's a really great idea. Mural work too. Uh-huh. You'd have to figure out how to protect it if you wanted to leave it up there.
I think it would just be for that reason.
I don't know.
Just like an altar. Like altars get put up and then they get taken down.
I know, but what if somebody offered you, we need a mural piece and we want it to be up forever?
Well,
I'm thinking maybe you could put plexiglass or glass over it as a protector once you get it up on the wall.
But that's if the wall they want it there.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, anyways, these are ideas.
I'm just like,
I started to think like, I would like to try to take cardboard. I would like to take cardboard and paint cardboard white, and then use the tape to create limbs, like create a body, create a character that can actually move.
Oh, so almost like a puppet in a
Yes,
way.
yes.
See, this is all so interesting
And
to
it's
me.
all coming from just sitting here in that zone when I'm doing this stuff that these ideas start to permeate.
So I want to go back to something. So when you were a kid, you mentioned that you liked to draw like princess
Yes,
dresses.
yes.
I mean,
That's what I remember. I drew a lot of things, but I remember that there was a period, I can still see them in my head.
I mean, it's just interesting to me that, I mean, you took that idea and it just remained there the entire time.
Well, it remained there, yes. But when I started fashion design school, then I had to learn how to draw.
Right.
And when I look back at my earlier drawings, it's scrawl. It really is scrawl. But even though it was scrawl, it was still the essence of the sketch. It was just less lines as possible to have the image.
To get your point across.
Yeah. So I still draw in that same manner too, and I love drawing. I really do. In fact, I've been able to do sketches and sell sketches too outside of the blue tape.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. All right, let me see what kind of questions we got. I gotta make the run here. All right, so moving back here to just okay, we talked about the thumbnails, no thumbnails. I love his style. And does he have a website? He does not have a website. He is on Instagram. He is on Facebook. And he's also a member of that Chicano Latinx group.
Yeah.
I did post those earlier in another post, but I will post them again once I put up this video so that you'll have them. Can we get links? Yes, I will get them to you. His work is interesting and brilliant. My comments, by the way, regarding methodology, were the thinking out loud about, okay, hold on. Come on. I can't see the rest of your comment. Oh, here we go. Phew. I got to turn this a little bit. Sorry. All right. So he was thinking out loud. He's the one that suggested acrylic things. So he was saying, I was thinking out loud about what I might do if I was to incorporate this into my work. Not at all a criticism of him. This gentleman is extremely smart and very brilliant. Love that idea. The blue with the red background reminds me a bit of Erte.
It was a very big inspiration for me back then, too.
Right, and that goes along with what you were saying, Georgia, about his work being reminiscent of Art Deco.
Yes.
Completely makes sense.
Yes.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I feel like I've just been run through the ringer. Hold on, I want to see what time it is. How are we doing? Oh, we are past our time. Oh my gosh, we're at 12:15. I didn't realize. Do you have any lovely, here, move closer to me. Oh yeah, there we go. Do you have any lovely parting words for our friends that are watching, or maybe anything you want to share with them?
Well, first I want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in and the wonderful, kind comments that have been given about my work. I'm very excited in this period, being able to do what I love to do. It's actually kind of the first time that something is sustaining me. Fashion has always been a run after the money and all that's entailed. But this I find great joy and pleasure in doing, and I hope that everyone out there is doing the same thing, doing what they love, because that's so important to your well-being, your sanity, and your heart. So thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much, Natalie, for having me.
My pleasure.
And giving me this wonderful little platform to share. Thank
you, guys. I so appreciate you being here, and until the next one, have a beautiful Sunday. As always, I have to come over and turn it off.
A bientôt.
Bye, guys.